we have about 12 minutes left for Q&A. One question from Mr. Professor Bill Lawrence. He said that when he recently met with the U.S. ambassador, the ambassador expressed concern that Tunisian opposition no longer meets with him, and that he's concerned that people get arrested for meeting with him. In the 2000s, before the revolution, of course, people who met with the U.S. ambassador were sometimes safer, but this government is much more shameless. Any ideas on how the U.S. should better engage and handle contacts within Tunisia? Any ideas or suggestion on what the U.S. ambassador or other ambassadors in Tunisia can do to help support human rights and democracy in Tunisia?
Can I just say that, yes, this Qais Said and his regime have been shameless, because those who claim to believe in these, common values of human rights and democracy and freedom have been too quiet, or have only expressed, timid concern, which has clearly not had any effect on Qais Said, and they have not gone beyond that. They have not shown any concrete actions. They have not called this a coup, and they have not, changed their dealings with Tunisia. They have approved all these violations, all this coup, and refused to call it a coup. And that's why we have arrived at this point where people are too scared to talk to the US ambassador, and he should not be surprised, because he has not condemned explicitly and publicly this case where politicians are thrown in jail for 14 months for meeting diplomats. These diplomats, the Italian ambassador, I think the French ambassador, the Spanish ambassador, and others who have been named in these cases, have been too quiet. They have not condemned this case. They have not taken any action. In fact, it's the opposite. We have seen them visiting Tunisia. We have seen them giving Qais Said photo opportunities and legitimizing all the continuing and worsening violations, despite the fact that not only the fact that violations are happening and restrictions of liberties, but also the deterioration of the economy itself, and the fact that they can see that he is failing to solve any of the problems he claimed to have made his exceptional measures in order to get rid of democracy, so that he can fix all these problems. We have only seen the deterioration of the economy and all these problems, and the emergence of unprecedented problems and crises in Tunisia. But we see Tunisia's so-called democratic partners doing very little apart from expressing concern. So I would say that they should not be surprised that Tunisia's government is continuing to behave in this shameless manner.
Thank you, Yusra. Anybody else wants to answer the question about what the U.S. ambassador or other ambassadors can do to support democracy and human rights in Tunisia?
Yeah, maybe I would like to add to that as Yusra said, I'm not surprised of people's reaction when meeting with foreign diplomats. But at the same time, I think this is, it shouldn't be an excuse to not try to meet with the civil society in Tunisia, with the opposition in Tunisia. There is safe ways to do it, and this should be done. Like, it's not a justification to avoid dialogue. And I think because of so many diplomats and foreign embassies have been mentioned, in particular in the so-called conspiracy case, they should have further responsibility in calling for their release, in mobilizing when there is decision around them. And I think it's very also important that the diplomats, as they have a role also of observers, commit to actually do the trial monitoring if we get there soon. Like, this is also important, and even further for those who are mentioned in the case. I think also most of the embassies and people, like the countries, the partners of Tunisia, should actually think carefully about their funding when they fund government entities that are today responsible of human rights abuses.
Thank you. Mr. Abdrazak or Elias, do you want to add something?
The same remark, Mr. Radwan. I am surprising that countries like France, Italy, or USA have not reacted about the case for conspiracy against state security. It's surprising, given that their representatives are accused by Tunisian government of conspiring to meet nationals of a country where their officials are assigned. So it's strange. And the second remark is that all the accused risk capital punishment. So I think that we have to do an international campaign to inform the international opinion about this case, which is a strange case, because in fact it's not a case, it's a ridicule case, because it's a case empty. There is nothing which accused the people who are in this case.
Okay. Mr. Lawrence says that embassies are also afraid for their staff. He was shocked by how much the embassy feels besieged. When he went to the embassy, he felt he had to talk my way past Tunisian security to get in, not just American hired security. My meeting with the ambassador was at the residence. So that what Mr. Lawrence is saying is that the ambassadors and the staff also feel threatened and besieged in Tunisia.
Mr. Radwan.
Yes, please.
Maybe my comment will be different than yours and the other president comment, but I think that we are not going to wait for the American or other foreign countries or ambassadors to help or support us, as long as the Tunisian people are still silent and cannot support democracy on their country, on their land. So we'll not make a call or appeal other foreign countries to support us when Tunisian people is silent and checking their only interests. As well, they are only those ambassadors. They are only looking for their own interests, and we can say that. We can see that or observe it or perceive it, even if it's not the same cases on the Palestine war that's happening today as genocide on Gaza, and they only react when it's beneficial for them. And plus, for the record and for the history, because I'm the son of Ghazi Shawashi, and I'm political activist even before my father. Let me say that for the record, it was those ambassadors, the American one, Heather, Natasha, the Italian ambassador, the Spanish one, that they who wanted to meet my father and other politicians. It was based on their demand. It was based on their call. So
Their request.
And their request, exact. And it was following their request, as you said. So there they are without democratic values today, and they are playing the blind on what's happening on the human rights states in Tunisia. And I think we must gain time, or let's say optimize our times, to raise awareness among our people, Tunisian people, better than trying to call embassies.
Okay. I think that we have another question from Mr. Ayman Abdurrahman, who is a program officer or program manager at IRI. Is the panel optimistic about the upcoming elections that could shake things up and change the course of events in Tunisia? The underlying question is, are Tunisian political parties gearing up for it, or are they feeling already defeated and hopeless? How do you feel, or what do you feel is going to happen with the next presidential elections that are supposed to take place in October and November?
In two
I think
words, they will not have presidential elections. Sorry, Yusra.
Go ahead.
I'm
Ilyas.
quite sure that he will
You
not
don't-
go for it, since he didn't have 100, even 1,000% guarantee that he will win. So he will not go for it.
You don't think they will take place? They will happen?
No, till today, as I've got the update of yesterday meeting with Boasker that was not published yet. He was seeking for excuses, saying that no, economic situation is very bad, so it's not priority for us to go for presidential elections.
Wow.
That suits to us, huh? Politically speaking, Mr. Radwan, that suits to us, and you know.
Yusra?
Sorry, Yusra.
So I agree. In the end, as a conclusion, I mean, you can see that the the electoral timetable has not been announced. So theoretically, it can be an opportunity, because unlike the previous elections held since the coup, which were based on the so-called new Qais Said's constitution, and under his new political system and new electoral law, those were rightly boycotted by the opposition. And we saw the dismal turnout of less than 10%, the lowest of any elections. And this was important to shatter the so-called illusion that Qais Said had any popularity. So theoretically, because this is the end of Qais Said's term under the 2014 elections, theoretically this could be an opportunity for bringing this to an end. But in practice, this will be taking place under not an independent electoral commission, but under the one appointed directly by Qais Said. And it will be, there'll be the most prominent, figures of the opposition are in jail or being investigated and prosecuted, or in exile or under house arrest. So they would not be able to take part. So realistically, I'm not sure they will be free and fair elections. But I think we should continue to call for those conditions for free and fair elections in Tunisia. If we do have those, then this could be an opportunity to bring this this to end.
Okay.
There was also a question. Sorry, there was a question about the African court case in the written chat questions. So as I mentioned, there is a court case filed on the 25th of May 2023 at the African Court of Human and People's Rights on behalf of Ghazi Shawashi, my father Rashid Ghannouchi, as well as Judge Bashir Rakrmi, Sayyid Firjani, Rida Belhaj, Shema Isa, Isam Shabi, and the family of the killed protester Rida Bouzayyan. So this had two parts. One, asking the court to rule on the legality of their imprisonment and to call for their release, and a more urgent appeal for urgent measures to call on the government to allow access to medical care and to their lawyers and to their legal files. So the court ruled in September 2023, ruled positively on the urgent measures and called on the Tunisian authorities to allow access to doctors and lawyers, and we are still waiting for the verdict on the main case, which should happen soon.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, so we must end this webinar. Are there any final comments from the panelists that something that you'd like to add?
As a conclusion, Mr. Radwan, as a conclusion,
yes.
we can say as a conclusion that today the fight that all Democrats and all those attached to freedom and human rights must wage today is not only to free political prisoners and stop all prosecuted, but also it is a fight for the return to the rule of law. And I think that the independent and effective judicial power, which is the guarantee to provide security for people and protect their rights and freedoms, is the most important things now.
Thank you, Si Abdrazak. Any other final comments, Salsabil, and you have anything to add or as a concluding remark?
No, I think I would like, we mentioned like what is happening today in Tunisia, and I think there is still encouraging steps when we see like the families of different detainees gathering together to ask for their release, to defend their rights, even if it's in prison. Civil society also joining groups from the civil society joining to defend all of the detainees. And we mentioned also the strike, the call for strikes lawyer, which shows that the lawyers are also defending their profession and reacting to the intimidation, judicial harassment against lawyers. So this is an encouraging step, and I think we should be even more vigilant in the context of the election, because clearly we are not optimistic, like lots of observers here are not optimistic about the situation when Qais Said political adversaries are in prison, where the electoral body is under control of the executive. But at the same time, I would like to reiterate the call of Human Rights Watch to release all those who are behind bars for political motives, for their peaceful statements or activism. Thank you.
Thank you, Salsabil. Ilyas, any final comments or remarks?
Stay united, forget our differences, and after Qais Said regime brought down, we will continue our our discussion and differences. That's democracy, and that's the aim, that's the objective.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yusra, any final comments?
Just thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for your very valuable comments. And like Salsabil and everyone else said, I think it's encouraging to see that although we see again a kind of return to the pre-revolution practices and violations and fear, or the attempt to reimpose the rule of fear in Tunisia. At the same time, we see a resistance to that. We see the lawyers, the judges political activists, civil society, and others who are refusing to accept that this is the end of the Tunisian revolution and the end of Tunisian democracy, and they are determined to be united and bring back democracy to Tunisia. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusra, and thank you, Ilyas and Salsabil and Abdrazaq. This was very interesting and informative panel. We really appreciate your presence with us. I am very optimistic, despite all the difficulties and all the challenges, that democracy will return to Tunisia, and sooner than we think. I think that the Tunisian people who lived in freedom for 10 years will not give it up so easily, that Qais Said has lied to us when he took office, and he promised to respect human rights and respect democracy and respect the rule of law and respect the constitution. And he has lost any credibility, I think, right now with the Tunisian people or with the international community. And so I think that things will change. They cannot continue like this. Economically, the situation is more desperate than ever. Socially and politically also, it is extremely bad, and has not been this bad even under the previous regimes of Ben Ali and Bourguiba. So I am very optimistic that things are changing in Tunisia, that Tunisians are starting to speak up and starting to criticize and not be afraid of this regime, and that things are going to change, inshallah, very soon. I again want to thank everybody for joining us in this panel, and we look forward to seeing you in the future again. Thank you.
Thank you
all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Slema.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
سلامة.
Thank you.
سلام العائلة بسلامة.
طيب سلامة. سلمونا على سي راشد وعلى سي غازي.
عايشة
عايش.
في
إلى اللقاء.
إلى اللقاء.